The Formula One paddock is packing up and heading to Budapest for the final race before the mandatory summer break. The Hungarian Grand Prix is always a crucial weekend on the calendar, but in 2026, it feels like the stakes are higher than ever. We have a championship battle that is reaching a boiling point, a massive upgrade package that could change the entire grid order, and a circuit layout that interacts with the controversial 2026 regulations in a completely unique way. If you want to understand exactly what's going to happen this weekend, you need to look past the obvious headlines. You need to understand the physics of the Hungaroring, the mathematics of the battery deployment, and the psychology of the drivers who are fighting for their careers. This is everything you need to know and everything you can expect from the 2026 Hungarian Grand Prix. Let's start with the circuit itself. The Hungaroring is a 4.38-kilometre track located just outside of Budapest. It features 14 corners and almost all of them are in the slow to medium speed range. Because the corners are so tight and flow continuously into one another, the drivers have famously nicknamed this track Monaco without the walls. Just like Monaco, track position here is absolutely everything. There is really only one long straight, the 908-metre start-finish straight, and turn 1 is the only genuine, reliable overtaking opportunity on the entire lap. Because the straights are so short and the corners are so demanding, teams will bolt on their biggest, most aggressive rear wings. This is a maximum downforce circuit. You do not care about aerodynamic drag here. You only care about mechanical grip and keeping the car glued to the tarmac through the twisty middle sector. But in 2026, the Hungaroring's layout is actually a massive blessing in disguise. To understand why, we have to talk about the batteries. The 2026 engine regulations removed the MGU-H and put all the electrical pressure on the MGU-K, which now has to deliver a massive 350 kilowatts of power. At high-speed tracks like Monza or Spa-Francorchamps, this has caused a huge problem. Because there are so few corners at those tracks, the cars cannot harvest enough energy under braking. The battery simply runs dry halfway down the straight, causing the car to automatically cut power. This is known as super clipping, and it has been the biggest complaint from the drivers all season. But Hungary is different. Hungary is the antidote to the 2026 battery problem. Because the Hungaroring has 14 corners packed into a very short lap, the drivers are constantly on the brakes. Every single time they hit the brake pedal, the MGU-K harvests kinetic energy and sends it straight back into the battery. The FIA recognizes this, which is why they have set the maximum recharge allowance for Hungary at 9 megajoules per lap. That is the joint highest allowance on the entire calendar, equal only to Monaco and Singapore. What does this mean for the racing? It means that for the first time in weeks, the drivers will not have to worry about their batteries running flat on the straights. They will have a full battery to deploy out of almost every corner. The cars will be able to run at their absolute maximum electrical potential. Think of it like using your smartphone. Racing at Monza is like using your phone in the desert with no charger. You have to turn the brightness down and close all your apps just to make it to the end of the day. Racing at Hungary is like sitting in your living room plugged directly into the wall. You can run everything at maximum brightness because you are constantly recharging. This battery-friendly layout is going to be a massive advantage for teams that have struggled with electrical deployment this year. Honda, for example, has openly admitted that their engine suffers from severe battery clipping. But Honda's chief engineer, Shintaro Orihara, specifically noted that the Hungaroring is less sensitive to power unit deficits. This means Aston Martin, who use the Honda engine, will get a natural performance boost just from the layout of the track, even before we talk about their upgrades. And speaking of upgrades, Aston Martin is bringing the biggest development package of the entire season to Budapest. As we discussed in our previous video, this is effectively a B-spec car. Adrian Newey and his team have redesigned the nose, overhauled the aerodynamic surfaces, and ruthlessly stripped weight out of the chassis. They even had to re-homologate the car with the FIA. Aston Martin is currently sitting dead last in the Constructors' Championship with just 1 point. They have been slower than Cadillac for much of the season. But with this massive upgrade, combined with a track layout that hides their engine weaknesses, Hungary is their golden opportunity to jump straight back into the midfield. If Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll cannot score points this weekend, the team is in serious trouble. But the battle at the front of the grid is where the real drama will unfold. We are heading into Hungary fresh off the chaos of the Belgian Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli won at Spa, extending his lead in the Drivers' Championship to a commanding 204 points. He is now 45 points clear of Lewis Hamilton and 50 points clear of his Mercedes teammate George Russell. For George Russell, the Hungarian Grand Prix is a must-win scenario. His championship hopes took a massive hit in Belgium when he collided with Hamilton on the opening lap at Les Combes, resulting in his third retirement of the season. Russell was furious on the team radio, and while Hamilton received a 5-second penalty for the incident, the damage to Russell's title campaign was already done. If Russell wants to go into the summer break with any realistic chance of catching Antonelli, he has to beat him in Budapest. But beating anyone in Budapest usually means you have to beat Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton's record at the Hungaroring is nothing short of legendary. He has won this race 8 times. He holds the all-time lap record. He understands the rhythm and the flow of this circuit better than anyone else in the history of the sport. And this year, he is arriving in a Ferrari that is perfectly suited to the track. Ferrari has struggled slightly with high-speed aerodynamic bouncing this season, but in the slow-speed corners, their mechanical grip is exceptional. Charles Leclerc has already stated that Ferrari's latest upgrade package will thrive in Hungary's slower corners. Hamilton, who is currently second in the championship, knows that this is his best opportunity to close the 45-point gap to Antonelli. If Ferrari can nail the setup in free practice, Hamilton will be the absolute favourite for pole position. We also cannot ignore McLaren. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are currently sitting 5th and 6th in the championship, but McLaren has won the Hungarian Grand Prix for the last 2 years in a row. Piastri took the victory in 2024, and Norris won it in 2025. The McLaren car generates a massive amount of downforce, which makes it incredibly stable under braking. Because braking stability is the key to a fast lap time at the Hungaroring, you can expect both orange cars to be fighting at the very front. However, there is one major variable that could throw all of these predictions out the window: the weather. The forecast for the race weekend in Budapest is predicting sunny intervals with a gentle breeze, but the temperatures are going to be brutal. Trackside meteorologists are expecting highs of 31 degrees Celsius on race day. When the air temperature is 31 degrees, the track surface temperature can easily exceed 50 degrees. This creates a massive headache for the engineers. Because the Hungaroring has so many corners and so few straights, the tyres never get a chance to cool down. The rubber is constantly being scrubbed across the hot tarmac. Thermal degradation, which is when the tyre overheats and loses grip, will be the defining factor of the race strategy. Furthermore, the hot air means the engines and the brakes will struggle to cool down. Teams will have to open up the cooling loops on the bodywork to let the hot air escape, but opening up the bodywork ruins the aerodynamic efficiency of the car. It is a delicate balancing act. Do you close the car up to gain downforce and risk blowing up the engine, or do you open the car up to save the engine and lose lap time in the corners? So, what can we expect when the lights go out on Sunday? Expect a qualifying session that is more important than the race itself. Because overtaking is so difficult here, getting track position on Saturday is absolutely vital. Expect to see drivers taking massive risks in Q3, pushing the track limits to the absolute edge. During the race, expect a tense, strategic chess match. Because the batteries will be fully charged, we will not see cars suddenly slowing down on the straights. Instead, the battle will be fought through tyre management. The drivers who can keep their rear tyres cool while still maintaining a fast pace through the twisty middle sector will be the ones standing on the podium. Expect Lewis Hamilton to be fiercely aggressive as he tries to hunt down Kimi Antonelli in the championship. Expect George Russell to be driving with a point to prove after the disaster in Belgium. Expect McLaren to be a constant, looming threat. And keep a very close eye on the green Aston Martin cars, because their entire season rests on what happens this weekend. The Hungarian Grand Prix is the final exam before the summer break. It is a brutal, hot, and unforgiving test of man and machine. And in the context of this incredible 2026 season, it is a race you simply cannot afford to miss.